Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Mr Deputy President. Well, it's always the same from those opposite. It's all bluster, it's all bluff. It's all looking backwards and pointing the finger, not quite realising that they're in government, that they're more interested in virtue signalling than they are in actually delivering any plans to the Australian people and those Australian families who are doing it so tough at the moment. And I guess today what we've seen in the New South Wales state campaign is just another example where the much-lauded electric bus that was developed in Western Sydney, but the much-lauded electric bus that was going to be taking the Labor wannabe Premier and his team and the media and staff around Sydney to campaign has broken down. The bus that is supposed to have a 300-kilometre radius travelled 60 k's and then broke down. So in what is, you want to talk about irony, then a diesel bus had to come out and pick everybody up. And so we know that those opposite, and there's safeguard mechanism. The safeguard mechanism. I mean, I know this is take note, and we're here to take note of answers. And Senator Farrell, I say this with much love and affection. The ums, the ahs, the bluff, the bluster, the prevarication is really quite something to behold. It is an Academy Award-winning performance of not answering a question. It is absolutely something that, I think actually some of your colleagues have taken on, because I've listened to a couple of the speeches today that your colleagues have made in response, and no wonder the galleries have emptied. I have never heard a bigger load of rot, of people saying nothing, of addressing nothing, and of not putting forward an idea to the Australian public. All the Labor Party is capable of doing is putting forward broken promises, and the Australian electorate is starting to wake up to that. But I guess the bus is just a great example of a broken-down opposition at the New South Wales state as they approach their election this weekend, and the broken-down bus, the electric bus that didn't go anywhere, a reflection of those opposite and the plans they put forward or the policies they put forward before the election, to the broken promises and the litany of lies that have been told to the electorate since then. We know that we went into this election with the Voldemort number of 275, the number that shall not speak its name if you are a member of the ALP. 97 times the Australian people were told that their power bills would come down by $275. Well, we all know that is now a furphy. We were told that there would be no changes to superannuation, not modest changes, not tinkering around the edges, no changes to superannuation. We were told that there'd be no changes to franking credits. We weren't going to make the mistake of Minister Bowen, as he did in the 2019 election, that if you don't like our policies, don't vote for us. Very sound advice that the Australian electorate took up. So they learnt from that mistake, so they lied to the Australian people about franking credits, because now we're looking at you can't pay a dividend once capital raising's occurred. We've got farmers absolutely petrified because these modest changes means that family farms that have passed from generation to generation, that are part of self-managed super funds, we know that they're now under threat because of this absolutely economically reckless and ridiculous unrealised asset being taxed. And for those that are watching on the broadcast, by taxing an unrealised asset, that means something that's not sold. It's actually a paper profit. And so if you own land that you've worked hard and invested in and saved for your family, and it somehow tips over $3 million on paper, hasn't been sold, you don't have any money in the bank, hasn't been sold, it's just in the paper, on paper, you will have to sell that to pay the tax bill, the grab from those opposite who hate retirees, who hate farmers, and absolutely have their hearts set on destroying the self-managed super funds, because their union mates make up the bulk of the big super funds. And of course, the biggest issue, though, facing Australians is cost of living pressures. Now, energy promise was broken. There's no 275 reduction. In fact, from July 1 this year, we're going to see a further 20% increase on gas and electricity bills. We know there's going to be gas shortages, which is going to put further pressure. And whenever you do market interventions around price caps, what you do is you actually make it worse in the long run, and that's what we've seen from this government. They have no plan, but what they have is lots of absolutely unfounded and ridiculous rhetoric pointing back to the previous government, the word COVID never passes their lips, apparently, and as I've said this, according to Senator Polly, we had calm economic waters because COVID was calm. This is an insult to every Australian family, and your rhetoric isn't making one iota of difference to a family budget.
I put the